Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rainey Toon Talk, sponsored by Her Game 2 Jade Bell. And tonight, joining myself in here is the one and only super fan Dan. Dan, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Rainey, Ian, good to see you again, lads. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And thank you, everyone that's been patiently waiting. I know we've had a few issues with StreamYard, so we've managed to get it sorted on a new link. So there might be a few waiting on the other link, but hopefully you'll see this video kicking in very shortly and getting across to watch this one as well. But lots to chat about tonight. I've been very excited. I mean, lots of people's been asking who you got on tonight, Rainey, and every time I've said super fan Dan, I want to do a chant afterwards and get going. So really looking forward to this one. Lots to chat about as well. But starting with yourself and obviously your love for football and obviously the clubs that you support as well. Before we chat about Newcastle United, we must speak about Monterey Bay FC, and watching the video on Twitter of yourself and obviously beating the drum and the fans coming around and chanting. It looks absolutely amazing. Me and myself and Ian love football, the passion, and I watched that with the biggest smile on my face. I mean, how did all that come about?
So Monterey Bay FC is only in their second year. This is the second season. The league was founded in. I mean, the franchise was founded in 2021, and their first season was in 2022. The stadium that we play in is called Cardinale Stadium. It's a refurbished Army football stadium because it's built on the campus of California State University, Monterey Bay, which is property that used to belong to the Army as part of the old Fort Ord out here, one of the largest infantry training bases in the Army before it was closed in 1993. So it's been a dilapidated stadium just sitting there. The college used it for commencement, for graduation, because it was a large outdoor venue that they could, put seats in and that kind of, but the club came in, was able to make some agreements with the college and spent quite a bit of money, about $12 million to renovate it. It's a 6,000 all-seater venue. It's about 8 minutes from my house, and we spoke earlier. I've been a Newcastle supporter for almost 30 years. Next year will be 30. San Jose Earthquakes fan for 26 years. That's the Major League Soccer team closest to where we live. To have a hometown team, it's something else. And to get to be involved in it from the beginning. I mean, from the first year. So the stadium wasn't finished being renovated yet at the beginning of last season. So we spent the first 7 games on the road. We were away for the first 7 games. And so our home opener wasn't until the first weekend in May. And I will tell you, the first 45 minutes was the quietest football experience I've ever been in. Being involved in clubs that are institutions such as Newcastle United, such as the San Jose Earthquakes. I mean, there's a built-in supporter culture already there. Here we've got a brand new club, a brand new team, and that first night there were a whole bunch of people that were excited to be there. Very polite. They watch soccer. They know soccer. They'll applaud if they see a good play or a good block or a good shot or something like that. But in terms of supporter behavior, there was there was very little. So I stood up, and in the second half, I took my cue from. We have a classic supporter named Crazy George Henderson up in the Bay Area. He's a professional cheerleader. He's been around since the mid '80s, and he's almost 80 years old himself. But he walks around with his drum, and he bangs his drum and gets the crowd going. And having watched him at San Jose games for more than 20 years, I was like, okay, I got to do something. I got to try something. So the second game, I brought a drum and just tried to get some call and response, very simple call and response chants going. MB, FC, MB, FC, that kind of stuff. And it kind of took off from there. Superfan Dan, just, are you the super fan? And I said, well, my name is Dan. Well, but it rhymes. Okay. It was my wife who coined it. My wife said, everybody keeps calling you the super fan. And I just think super fan Dan just kind of rolls off the tongue. And I think that's what you should do, babe. So that's what I've been doing. And I now collect scarves and I wear them around my waist, and I have a pride flag that has the Monterey Bay crest on it that I wear in support of the LGBTQ community as well. And and I have a top hat that I wear in the stadium, and it makes it easy for people to find me, because I probably put 10,000 steps in each game, walking around the stadium doing just doing my thing. And so that's how it came to be. I wanted to be an ambassador for opposition supporters when they came in. I wanted to welcome them to the stadium, say we were happy to have them, happy to be there. We're friends until the whistle blows, and but then we'll get together and have a beer after the final whistle, and just I want people to feel comfortable coming into Cardinale Stadium. I want people to come and be unafraid to make noise, to get out of their seats and cheer on these guys, and to have a professional team in our backyard. This is the part I try and get across to everybody. We're competing against teams from Las Vegas, Sacramento, Miami, Louisville, Kentucky, San Diego, Detroit. We're talking large municipalities. The greater Monterey Peninsula has a total population of about 250,000 people. Nice. And that includes several cities that are 11, 12 miles inland from us. So we're not a big municipality at all. And to have a professional sports team, we're incredibly privileged to have that. So
yeah,
6,000 fans is
obviously meeting yourself before the game. And I know we're chatting about and even this morning I woke up and I said to Pat, I just need to check the score. And he's like, Dad, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, but I need to check the score from last night. The 1-2-1. I was like, and it just passes and that's how football works, isn't it? The love for football.
And I think the happiest thing for all of us, there was probably 20 of us that made the trip out here, and there were several of our supporters in Monterey have family in the area as well, so we were able to bring local Las Vegans to the game as well to support our team from Monterey, not their home team. But I think for me the biggest thing was at the end of the game, the players know who we are, so the players all ran over to the advertising hoardings and cheered us on and said thanks for making the trip and all that. So when I see Eddie Howe and all of our players in Newcastle come down to the supporters end at Norwich City, and cheer people on and say thank you for being there. I like seeing that from our guys in our hometown. I mean, these guys we run into these guys in the supermarket. We all forget, and just said this it was just said in the season finale of the season in Ted Lasso, that they may be footballers, but they're people too. And that's the most important thing is just, guys, we're here to support you. We want you to do well, and we want you to be happy to represent our area. There you go.
I remember when we met outside of St. James's, and what struck me a little bit was when you said that you got kids along with you to try, and when you were banging the drum to try and to get that atmosphere across, and to involve kids. I might sound a little bit selfish here, but us in the Northeast, it's in us from kids. And it must be difficult over in America for kids because I think they might be more driven about American football and baseball, etc., etc. So for yourself to drive, to get the kids to start early in such a small club, to try and promote that club to be a bigger success, I think it's remarkable what you do. And just keep it up. I think it's brilliant.
I appreciate you saying that, Ian. Yeah, it's soccer, what we call football. Soccer is the single most popular youth sport in the United States. Let's be honest. These kids get to run around and expend a bunch of energy, and it makes it easy to go home, cook dinner, and get them to bed because that's they're exhausted. A lot of them have never been to a professional soccer game. Like I said, San Jose is an hour away. And the major league soccer prices, ticket prices, some of them can be a bit dear. So some of these kids have never been to a professional soccer game. So when they're in the stadium, it's like, look, it's okay to stand up and say, "Go Union," or show them that you're excited that they're here, that they're playing, that you're playing, they're playing in your hometown, and they're your hometown guys, and you're happy to cheer them on. And I think we were talking outside St. James's 2 games prior to that. 4 young men came up and said, "We want to do what you do." So I just banged my drum and they did all my cheering for me. We walked from one end of one corner of the stadium to the next corner. By the time we got to the other corner, I had 20 kids.
Yeah.
Then we walked to another corner and then we had 40 kids. And by the time I made a full circumference of the stadium, I had over 100 kids that were following me like the Pied Piper. And I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was bang the drum and they would do the cheering. And then I ran into parents in outside the stadium in the parking lot. They just said, "Our kids are going to remember that forever, that you did that for them." And I said, I didn't do it for them. I did it with them. They're an integral part of what we're trying to build here in terms of supporter culture. I mean, we want these kids to grow up with the team, to grow up with the club, to fall in love with the club, to fall in love with the sport, and just keep it going. We want their kids' and their kids' after that, their grandkids to love Monterey Bay football. And I've tried to do the same thing with my kids with Newcastle and the Earthquake. So I was born in Germany. My dad was in the army. We were stationed overseas. Every place we went, we moved every 18 months to 2 years. Everywhere we went, I played soccer because that was the easiest way to make friends. You got involved in the local soccer community, and you were only there for a couple of years, and then you moved on to the next thing. So soccer has been a constant in my life from 4 years old. I was never a particularly good player. I loved the game. I just didn't play well. So when I started having my own kids, I coached soccer. I coached little kids soccer. And eventually my kids all grew up and they didn't want to play soccer anymore. And I've just been a professional fan. So everybody in the community knows me as Coach Dan. I was the head coach of our soccer association. So I had 44 teams from 4-year-olds up to 13-year-olds. And all of those coaches reported to me, and I coached my own teams as well. But everybody knew me as Coach Dan. So the Coach Dan was the dress rehearsal for Superfan Dan.
But it must be amazing. Obviously, you're getting everything going over there, and then you come over here. What's it like then to see war flags and obviously that atmosphere for the game? It must be in a total different way.
Just watching the season and seeing the love come back into St. James's. I mean, we've known for your lifetimes and for my almost 30 years, we know how passionate the Geordie fan base is for their football club. But having watched during the Ashley years, watching War Flags just try and get going, when Rafa came in and then all of a sudden you could start seeing that groundswell, it's always been there. It was quiet for a long time because there was nothing to believe in. Rafa solidified the club, gave us something to believe in, gave the fans something to get behind and cheer behind and support. And then, Rafa was gone and we had a couple of years in the wilderness again. The less said about that, the better. And now Eddie Howe has come in, and when Eddie came in and you could see that the new owners were genuinely behind the community. They want this to be a success. They want that. Here's a fan base that has been, for all intents and purposes, neglected for 14 years, and they want to give the club back to the people, and you can see that. So seeing the success of War Flags, to see, come on, I was in the stadium for 2 games, and I just all of the chants that are innate, and it's wonderful that it could start in any corner of the stadium. One person just yells "Toon, Toon," and then it takes off, and it was fantastic to be a part of it. It was fantastic to be there again. It made me fall in love with Newcastle all over again. I've never given up on them, even when they were relegated. I have friends that change their allegiances more often than they change clothes. Newcastle's been my team since 1994. I never given up on it. Even during the dark days, it was still. I may not have gotten up at 4:30 in the morning for every game, but I always watched it. I always followed it. They're the first score on the score sheet that I look for. To see that love come back, to see that belief come back, and to see the banners that said, we never asked for a team that wins. We wanted a team that tries, a club that tries. And we've got it now. And now I think we're a year ahead of schedule.
It's really cool. I mean, luckily we were a pleasure to meet you before the Leicester game. It was so nice walking around, and me and Ian was quite for about 5 o'clock. We were there very early, and it was just so nice to build up the atmosphere, then to meet yourselves and hear of your story as well. But it must have been nice for yourselves to walk around and meeting people of the city and just soaking up the atmosphere as well.
The Leicester game was was fun because of the black stripes, the black and white striped beard. Keith Downey grabbed me and a Leicester fan, and who had his head spray painted blue. He just pulled us both together and said, I want to talk to you guys for a minute. Walking around the stadium, all of a sudden people that were standing in queues to get into the turnstiles and everything said, that's the guy who was on Sky Sports. I saw him on Sky Sports. So that was a bit of a surreal experience. But yeah, just seeing everybody excited about the season that we've had, excited about what's to come next season. I mean, it was the Brighton match 4 days before. The atmosphere in the stadium was fantastic. But even at the final whistle against the last Leicester match, even after a 0-0 draw, it almost took the roof off. It was just fantastic to be a part of it, just to be there and experience the joy, the unbridled joy that the fan base has got now, and the excitement that's building for next season. I mean, Champions League football for the first time since Sir Bobby. I got to experience that once. I went and saw the Leverkusen game back in 2003. I was on a business trip in Germany, and I happened to be able to catch that match. And it was on Bobby and Genus's birthday, and that was fun to be part of, to be in the crowd that night as all the Geordies sang "Happy Birthday" to Sir Bobby. Or Sir Bobby give us a wave, or Bobby give us a wave, and he would come out of the dugout and give the crowd a wave. That was a neat experience, and now we get to experience it all over again 20 years later.
Yeah, exciting times, and that's what we're going to go on to next, and pass yourself to Ian to chat about next season as well.
Certainly.
Well, yeah, you've kind of. I'm gonna take you back.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, we were stuck in the Steve Bruce area, and we didn't know which direction the club was going to go to. And then obviously the takeover came, and then obviously with the appointment of Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall, and then we managed to. I mean, what a turnaround! I mean, to get us safe, and then I mean, what was your expectations going into the season after the turnaround from obviously being so low to being positive to going into the summer? And what was your expectations of Newcastle going forward from then on?
I sincerely thought, top half of the table would be, mid-table would be good. I would think if we could be in the top 10, we would be solidifying. We were starting to make progress. I did not foresee a top 4 finish. I did, but you could also see the brotherhood within the dressing room, that they're all pulling for each other, and the recruitment has been spot on. Everything that Eddie and Jason Tyndall and the new owners have brought into the club. As soon as the takeover came true, as soon as it was finalized, everybody expected Newcastle all of a sudden go out and spend, half a billion pounds on players and stuff. And I'm happy that that didn't happen. I'm happy that it's been strategic. It's been building blocks. Trippier was a master stroke. To follow Trippier up with, the likes of Dan Burn and Matt Malone and players that were well known, but nobody thought them world beaters or anything. More importantly, the change in the players that he inherited. Again, everybody talks about Joe Linton's transformation. Everybody talks about Fabian Schär coming out of the wilderness and making himself a first choice center back. We all knew he was always class, but he got bruised. He got cast over on and wasn't looked at. And again, I especially like it. Seeing Trippier wearing the armband, but then when Lascelles comes on as a substitute, when Trippier runs over and puts the armband on Lascelles, going, no, mate, you're the captain.
Yeah.
It shows everyone how together that dressing room is. And then I read the article in The Athletic that Dan Burn is just he's thrilled, yet he's sad because he knows that there's going to be some departures and there's going to be some new guys. This is the last time that this collection of players is going to be this collection of players. And to have experienced what they've experienced this season together has just been remarkable.
Yeah, I think I was like with shows that were done before. I was like yourself. I was thinking the expectation for me going into the summer was like, yeah, well, as long as I finish mid-table and we don't have to look at relegation ever again, that'll do me. But then I think it was a little bit of a masterstroke for Eddie Howe. I mean, I think he signed in the summer the spine of this team, and he brought Pope, Botman, and Isak. I mean, and that's your spine of your team. And then obviously when you've got yourself your Trippier and your Bruno Guimaraes, I mean, I thought, you know what it is? They are proper signings then. And going forward, you're thinking, do you know what it is? We are going in the right direction here.
Yep. Well, and look at the change in Miggy. Here was a guy that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and all of a sudden he was scoring with every touch. It just goes to show that when you have a support system that believes in you, your coaching staff believes that you can do it. The crowd then gets behind you and says, we know what you're capable of. I mean, just the love affair that people have now with Joe Linton and Almiron are just, I think it's been fantastic to see, because so many people were going to write them off as world-class flops because of their price tags and because, they just, but they never gave up. And then the players came true. I mean, the players, with a change in coaching, with a change in belief structure, with it just, you could see that they're playing with a smile on their face. They're playing for each other. I agree. I am happy to think we're never going to have to look back over our shoulders at relegation again for, we're hoping for considerable amounts of time. I think we're going to go from strength to strength. I think it's going to be next year. I think if we need to invest right with a few more, proper pieces. We need the squad depth, and having been out of the European places for 20 years, we've got financial fair play to deal with. So we have to look at that part. We're not going to just be able to go out there and spend £500 million like everybody expects us to. I don't want us to do a Chelsea. I don't want us to do a Man City. I don't want to see that level of expenditure. I want to see us do this building blocks and show the world that we mean business and we're doing it the right way.
I mean, you're on about business and doing things the right way there. I mean, we got to November after a fantastic start of the season, and all of a sudden everybody was thinking, do you know what it is? We're going to be right in among this come Christmas time. And things start to get a little bit serious now. And I mean, we had a fantastic cup run. And you're thinking, this is going to be one fantastic season. But then you look at the squad and you think, how can this keep continuing? And like I say, fair play to Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall and his backroom staff. just for keeping us focused to get us to Christmas, where we're in a position where you're thinking this is going to happen after Christmas, mate, and we're going to be in for an absolute spot-on chance to do something.
Yep. And that was with the distraction of a World Cup in the middle of all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. We did a show last week, didn't we?
I totally forgot about the World Cup. Yeah.
You know, to all of a sudden have this enforced 6-week break and then come back like gangbusters right out of the gates again. Just like, okay, we've got this. We're going to make something of it this year. I think we came back out of the holidays and after the World Cup just going, this is in our own hands and we can do this.
Yeah, it was a Boxing Day game against Leicester, wasn't it? We just came 3-0 within 25 minutes and we just thought, we're back.
Yep.
And I mean, and then you're going into the January transfer window and again all your speculation comes thinking, God, our squad looks tired. We need to be signing a lot of players. And to be fair, and again, a lot of the fans, I mean, I was frustrated as one of them because I thought we would have brought in more. And I thought when Gordon came in, I thought it was a hefty price tag for him. But I do think there's a player in there, and only bring in a Harrison Ashby, and I'm thinking we may struggle here because the likes of Liverpool and your Man Uniteds were going on a right run. They were putting pressure on us, and I'm thinking, how can we cope this? And I mean, our squad was really, really thin at the time. We lost a few people through injuries, and I was just thinking, we're going to just fade away, but we didn't. And I mean, what did you think of that?
I'm with you. When the injuries started to pop up, to have a world-class signing like Isak not available for 10 weeks, 11 weeks, something like that. We barely got to see him for. He had a fantastic debut against Liverpool, and then all of a sudden he's disappeared. It was like, here we go. Here's the Toon curse. We get a new player, and then and then we can't keep Callum Wilson fit as well. When we're firing on all cylinders, when everybody's fit, we're one of the best in the league, and our placement shows that. I was nervous like you, Ian. I agree with you. I think Gordon is going to be quite a player with the guidance that he's going to get from our backroom staff, from our coaching staff. I think there's a dynamo in there. There's a diamond in the rough, so to speak. I mean, he showed what he's capable at Everton, but I think the fan comments and the treatment that he got at the end of his time there, I think had a psychological effect on him, and I think he's now just starting to show that he's coming back from that. I think the confidence is there. I'm excited to see what Harrison Ashby is like. I'm excited to see what he's capable of, and to have a mentor like Trippier to show him the ropes and show this is what we do. This is how you conduct yourself as a professional. I trusted the club. I trusted Eddie. I trusted Jason. I trusted Amanda. Yes, it was a bit nervy there coming in the winter transfer window, but we knew that once we started getting those injuries cleared up, that we would just kick on again and prove to be so. Now I'm excited to see who else is coming in. So Minte, is that a done deal? That's not been announced yet?
Don't know. Young man. Lots and lots of rumors, but nothing really gone that next level, has it? Because we looked at this summer in the winter transfers, you just see a player turn up and within that day he signed, where they seem to come out of the blue for Newcastle, like Nick Pope. No one ever seen that one coming last season. I think that's how it's gonna try and keep things.
What a snippet that.
Yeah. And going on to the semi-final, I mean, I know me and James were at the game, and what it was an occasion by itself, James, wasn't it? I mean, the football took care of itself. It was fantastic. I mean, what was it like for yourself to witness that game and to realise that? Well, actually, I mean, James was in tears at the end of the game because obviously at Wembley, battle of Wembley. And I mean, he made me watch the clock for 35 minutes, which I missed a lot of the game because of James, but it was fine. But I mean, how did you feel when that final whistle went? You were going back to Wembley.
Elated. Just again, I had just moved to California in '96, so I remember going to TV. Our coverage of the Premier League wasn't what it was back then. So I remember going to both of the FA Cup finals, having to drive to San Jose and pay a cover charge in order to get into a restaurant at 3:45 in the morning to watch those matches. So I was really excited, one, to be able to watch them, to watch the quarterfinal and then the semifinal, and knowing that I was going to be able to watch the final on television in my own house, in my own home, without having to go out and do it. But then there was an element of I kind of want to go to the pub and watch it with all the rest of the lads, because that's what this is all about. No, absolutely thrilled. I'm a sucker for hometown boys doing good. So when Dan Burns scores, I was in tears when Bernie scored with his head against Brighton, because of all the stick he gets about being at 6'7" and never scoring with his head, and the fact that he got a header was fantastic. So seeing Burns score in the Gallagate was fantastic. Seeing Sean Longstaff score a brace, and it just, that run was so fun to watch, because here's these two hometown lads they're epitomizing what this club is about. Look at how important it is, look at how meaningful it is to these two guys to have scored the goals that got us on that road to get to Wembley. It was, I was thrilled. But I'm, like I said, I'm a sucker for that. Watching hometown guys come good just is really exciting. I just, watching Sean Longstaff turn into the player that he's turned into. I agreed with Alan Shearer when he said, when Longy doesn't play, we're missing something. Bruno has to do twice as much work because Longy's not there to do the rest of it. So, and to say, well, what do you do with Joe Willock? If we were lucky that Joe Linton was injured for a little bit, so that Joe Willock could play and Longy could play. What's the word I'm looking for, fellas? The foundation that we have in central midfield is just exciting, because we can chop change and know that we've got players that can handle it. And to add, the possible additions that we've got coming in this summer, if we were able to score a guy like James Maddison, if we were able to get a true number 6 to let Bruno push up and do what we know he can do, I was thrilled to have the cup run that we had. I had every belief that we could go to Wembley and get a result, but it had to be Man U, didn't it? But that again, I was excited about that, because it shows that we're capable of it. Now, what can we do? Can we do an FA Cup run? Can we do another cup run in the League Cup? What's our Champions League going to look like next year? I mean, I'm already making plans. If we draw Bayern Munich, I spent my 5 longest years overseas in Munich. So if we draw Bayern Munich, I've already said to my wife, I said, we're going. We're going to watch that match, because I have to. I have to go back to my hometown. It's, like I said, that was the longest I'd ever spent overseas. So I have to go back there and see that game. So I'm excited about all of it, lads. It's the sleeping giant is waking up. I won't say it's fully awoken yet, but it's getting there. We're showing the world what we're capable of, and I'm just happy to be part of it again.
I mean, you've touched upon Champions League here, and this is going to be the final one for me. Obviously, it's Champions League. Come on, it's what we've dreamed of for a long time, and we've finally got there. I mean, I've said it on shows for a while now, and I'm a big fan of Eddie Howe, big fan of Jason Tyndall and his backroom staff. They take all the credit for keeping the lads absolutely fully focused to get that job done. I mean, the pressure was right on. I mean, first of all, what do you think of obviously Eddie Howe, backroom staff, and then obviously finishing off from yourself about Champions League football?
I know that he had his critics when he first came in. I didn't put any credence into, well, he's just that young lad that relegated Bournemouth. I never thought that. I watched Eddie Howe's Bournemouth play, and I said, that's exciting football. I enjoy watching that. At the same time, Newcastle under Bruce beat them, what, 4-1? There was that match. And I said that wasn't such exciting football to Eddie. But when it was being rumored that we could get Eddie Howe to come in after Bruce, I was sitting there going, that would be a good step for us. And Graham Jones was already on staff. He was already working in Bruce's backroom staff. I was excited when we got the Howe Tyndall, twosome to come in, and the way that they've built out that backroom staff. We could say lots of things about, remember when Sam Allardyce came in and he brought in the sports kinesiology and the sports metrics and all that, and he had a backroom staff of 20 guys or something like that. When you look at the number of people involved in Eddie Howe's backroom staff in every single one of those victory photos in the locker room, when you see how many of them are in there, but that each one of them has a specific job and that they're bringing that to the betterment of everybody in the squad. It goes to illustrate, when you've got a good group of a great coaching staff, you've got a good group of players that believe in themselves and believe in each other. When you've got a fan base that's behind you and supportive, when you've got an ownership that believes in what we're capable of doing and are able to put the money where it matters the most and get the most results out of the pieces that we have. The fact that we got to Champions League qualification as early as we have since the takeover is testimony to how well things are going on behind the scenes at our club. I'm just to see Amanda and Merdad and Jamie smiling in the stands, to see the waves and the hugs and the family togetherness that on the pitch in the Gallagate end at the end of the Leicester game on that final home game this season, but at the final home game last season as well. There's that togetherness there that I don't think we've seen in many years. And with that positive group, with that positive feeling, with that positive influence inside the dressing room and within the club walls, I think we can continue to go strength to strength, and I'm just excited to be part of the ride.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I mean, finishing on next season as well, the rumours have already started, players coming in. I mean, just the other night, obviously West Ham win the trophy, the day after Newcastle's challenging Arsenal and all these teams for Declan Rice. I'm just thinking, wow, how nice it is to challenge for that type of player again. I mean, looking at all the matches that you've watched last season, what positions do you think that we personally need to strengthen going into next season?
So I was excited when we turned Matt Targett's loan into a permanent position when they brought Matty Targett in. I don't think any of us saw Dan Byrne becoming an orthodox left back. I think left back is probably one of the positions that we definitely need to look to in terms of future purchases. Jamal Lewis didn't work out, but could we get a player like Kieran Tierney? Is that a purpose-built left back for us? I think we need a little bit more. We obviously need somebody up front, in case we lose Isak or Wilson. I think Chris Wood did a phenomenal job for what he was brought in to do. Yeah. He was brought in to do a purpose, and he got that job done and departed with our compliments. I firmly believe we need a true number 6. I think we need that central defensive midfielder to sit in front of the back four that will allow the likes of Bruno and Joe Willock to push forward. The concern I have is the number of players that have had great seasons this year. Which ones do you have to, drop to the bench in order to bring in those new recruits? So I think left back, I think central defensive midfield, and I think an attacker, and it could be an attacker that plays left, right, center, but somebody who's going to score goals when we don't have the likes of Isak or Wilson due to injury, or Maxi, if Maxi's out for a long time, or it doesn't appear that Miggy ever gets injured, but someone that's going to provide some competition for Maxi and Miggy. Maybe that's Anthony Gordon. Maybe we've already got that on board. And can Gordon play up front? Can he play up front if Wilson's unavailable for a bit? There's a lot of flexibility, and I go back to we trust the coaching staff. They know what they're looking for. I don't think they're going out and looking for superstars. I don't. Could we go out and spend $100 million on a player? We can now, but do we have to? Did either one of you know who Alexander Isak was before we signed him?
Not really.
Didn't say much of him.
Not really.
Right. Did any of us know who Bruno Guimaraes was before we signed him?
I did.
Exactly.
You did? Did you watch Leon with interest?
Yeah. I thought Paqueta was the better of the player between the two, and then when we signed Bruno, I just thought if we get Paqueta, it's just because it's took a while for Paqueta to get in, used to the Premier League. And I mean, a lot of West Ham fans were writing him off and saying he's absolutely rubbish. Wow. And now Paqueta is he will set the Premier League alight. He's brilliant, and he plays ahead of Bruno in the Brazil squad. And I scratch my head because Fred plays ahead of Bruno, which is beyond me. But that's a different.
I think we all watched that in the World Cup. I think we all watched that in the World Cup, going, how is Bruno not on the pitch? So,
but I think if Joe Linton went to the World Cup, and then. I'm not saying Joe Linton should have started, but if it needs to be a game changer and bringing Fred on or Joe Linton, I know who I'd rather mark, and it would be Fred.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we just lost Dan for a second there. But like we say, Ian, as well, I mean, just last question was going to be talking about, obviously, the league, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup. And we're going to ask Dan the same, but with yourself, Ian, do you think that we can cope with that? Oh, back there now, Dan, we're just saying there, Dan, sorry for the final question. Obviously, we just touched on there. We've got the league, the Champions League, FA Cup, the League Cup. How do you think we're going to cope with that amount of competition, and kind of what's your aims and thoughts going into next season now?
Our history with the FA Cup over the last 20 years has not been a good one. I would like to see an extended run in the FA Cup. Come on, guys, let's be honest. A trophy, any trophy, we'll take any of them. So I would be thrilled to see a long run in either the FA Cup or the League Cup. I want us to have a good showing in the Champions League. I want us to show that we can get out of the group stage. That we can contend with the best. I'm struggling in our current squad to see how we're going to cope with 3 cup runs and maintain our position in the Premier League. But if there's a coaching staff that's going to do it, I have to believe it's Eddie Howe and his backroom staff that can make it happen. I think with the right additions, and I trust them implicitly to make those decisions correctly. I think with the right additions, there's going to be obviously some departures from the club, and again, fair play to all of the lads that are looking at the outdoor. Isaac Hayden, Jeff Hendrick, the guys. Well, Isaac Hayden specifically for helping to bring us up from relegation last time. I'm looking around at the squad and say we've still got so many guys that were here, that were there, that were at the club when we got promoted back to the Premier League. There's going to be some guys that have to leave. There's going to be some special players that come in to make the players that we've got now go to sit the bench. It's going to have to be some incredibly quality players, but we're going to need that squad depth in order to make a good run in 3 cups and make the. And I'd like to see top 4. Top 4 again. I think we've got the big 6 shaking. I think they've all of a sudden looking over their shoulders, going, who's this group? So I would like to see a quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Maybe I'd like to see a League Cup final again. Let's do it. I mean, why not? And just a good showing in the Champions League. Like to see us get out of group play, get into the round of 16, and make that happen. I just want to see smiles on faces. That's the biggest thing for me, is just I want to see the fans enjoying themselves again. I want to see the fans falling in love all over again with their club and supporting them in every endeavor, win or lose. Let's just get behind the lads and show them that we believe in them too.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think my take on the cup competitions in league and Champions League, etc. I think we're going to afford to take the Carabao Cup as a little bit of a luxury this season. With obviously the league's priority, the Champions League before you get to Christmas, you're like, I'm sure I'm right, mind. You can either get out the group, or you because I'm sure the draw takes place in between Christmas for February before it starts again. If we're in a strong position in the league and we're in a strong position in the Champions League, I think we should be able to afford to play a lot of youth players in the Carabao Cup. Depending what we do in the Champions League, if you go to January, then the FA Cup starts. Then you've got a January transfer window. If you hopefully not, if you eliminate out the Champions League, we'll put the youth out in the Carabao Cup. Then you can have a right go at the FA Cup. So then you've got your league and the FA Cup going forward, rather than just having. I understand why he went for the Carabao Cup last year, because we had nothing else. We've had a terrible, like Dan said, we've had a terrible run in the FA Cup for a long time. But going forward in last season, Carabao Cup, he went for that trophy, to get that trophy back at Newcastle. This season, I think league. See what we're like. If we get out the group of the Champions League, depending on obviously what the draw we will get top teams in that, and it's experience more than anything for us this year. James,
and nobody wants to come to St James's Park.
I totally agree with you, but you've got to remember that it's only a couple of times, man. We could be going away at absolutely some hostile grounds that we're not used to. So like James,
it's been a while.
I'm one of these ones where I kind of sit on the fence. I'm not one of that will go, we're going to do this, and like the Champions League, we're going to do all. I try to be realistic. If we do well and get out the group stage, and if we get into that next knockout group, I think that's a remarkable stepping stone for our club. Going forward, our league position takes priority. Carabao Cup, I think, might just take a little bit of a little bit of a step back. But I think, regarding where we are, I think FA Cup will be another target this year, rather than not in the seasons prior.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all agree it's just going to be a hell of a season to look forward to, and like you say, lots of smiles all around the ground as always. But Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, and please keep up the great work. I know you've got an extra fan now. I'll be supporting on Facebook and Twitter. I know I've liked and followed the page straight away, and I was checking the result first thing this morning. That's how low we are now. So, keep that great work. It's great to see what you're doing over there as well.
Cheers,
brilliant,
James. Thanks, Ian.
Brilliant.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you for saying hi in front of St. James's Park. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks for having me. And let's catch up sometime during the season.
Yeah, we're gonna get
how good we're doing.
We're gonna get John on as well, aren't we, James?
Yeah.
So
we'll have a good show, won't we?
We'll check in from Philadelphia, Atlanta, or Harrison this summer as well. So we'll be able to create some content. Shade Heartline again. We're going to be traveling together during the summer in between spots. So we'll be making content and checking in. So look forward to seeing lots of black and white faces out there.
Brilliant.
And again, everyone that's been watching, I know there might be still someone waiting for the other show to start, and we had a few issues with the stream before we started, so we'll get this shared out as much as we can as soon as the show ends in a very few moments as well. But again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I think about 130 subscribers away now from that 1K. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well and help the channel grow, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Thanks all. Thanks, guys.